Okay, we've got a Kia Sportage in, got a overheating issue. So this was actually bubbling over, all the coolant inside was boiling and it's completely lost around 5 litres of water. So first point of contact, we're pressure testing the system after refilling. We've got the pressure gauge over 25 psi, or 20 psi, sorry. And we're just going to leave this on for about 10 minutes, see if we get any pressure drop, just to confirm if there's any leaks or not. So this has been on for a good 10 minutes now. As you can see, we've barely got any pressure drop at all. We're still above the 20 psi mark, so I'm not concerned there. Now, a few different things that can cause an engine to overheat are either the water pump's not flowing the coolant around, the thermostat's stuck closed, or the radiator fans aren't turning on. So what we're probably going to do now is run the car up, confirm that the fans are turning on. Then we're going to take a temperature reading from the inlet and outlet of the radiator to confirm that coolant flow is happening, and see what we pick up there. Now with our laser thermometer, we can start to measure the temperature of all the hoses whilst it's running. So this is in Fahrenheit at the moment. So it's still quite cold, down at 40 degrees. We can also measure the engine block temperature. So we're just going to wait for this engine to warm up now. I've got the radiator cap off. This allows us to see if there's any exhaust gas leaking through the cooling system, in case like a head gasket had blown or something, but that looks all okay at the moment. We're just going to obviously recheck that once it heats up. You're probably wondering, how do we determine if it's the water pump or thermostat? If the thermostat's stuck closed, we're not getting coolant flow to the radiator, or not sufficient coolant flow. So we will find that one radiator hose will stay cold the entire time, and that's an indicator that the thermostat's blocking coolant flow from flowing out over to the radiator. Now if the water pump had failed, such as the fins being corroded and it's not doing enough coolant, then both radiator hoses will be hot. We won't see a temperature difference because the coolant's just staying still, it's not flowing through the radiator. Alright, so we've had the car running for a good half an hour now. We can see that the water temperature is quite steady, around 87 degrees, and this is good because we've actually got the radiator cap off at the moment, so we're building no pressure in the cooling system. So 87 degrees is good. We haven't had the fans engaged yet, probably because it hasn't gone up high enough temperature, so they don't need to. But what we've done is we just put the a reservoir on so we can clearly see if any bubbles are starting to come up, such as a head gasket problem, and this just allows us to keep the coolant level at a good level that we can see, rather than having it bubble up over the radiator all the time. So we're just holding this at 2,500 RPM currently. We're really trying to build this water temperature up. You can see we've got to 100 degrees now, and it's saying that the engine cooling fan is trying to turn on at low. So let's confirm to see if this fan is operating. So you can see that the fan is not moving, even though it's saying that it's trying to engage. So the ECU is sending communication to the fan to try and turn it on, and it's not turning on. And you can see we're supposed to be on fan high right now, so let's confirm if that one's come on, which it hasn't. So this tells us that the reason this thing's overheating is because the cooling fans are not working. So I've removed the fan plug. We've tested this with a power probe to confirm that the fan's operating, and it is. So there's definitely power operating that, and we're going through the fuse box now just to check all the fuses related to the fan, and they've got this big fusible bar here, this big fuse link, so everything in there is testing okay. So we know the fan's working if we power it up, we know the fuses and the relays are fine, so now we've got to find out where in the communication path is being disrupted, because the ECU is telling the fans to switch on and they're not switching on. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky now. All the tests so far have come back great. Now we've got two scan tools here. We've got the Autel and we've got the Snap-on one. So that one alone is $20,000, and both of them are showing only one coolant temp sensor reading. Now some of these cars do have two coolant temp sensors. So one of them basically operates the dash and it will show the temperature on the dashboard, and then the other temperature sensor is purely for the ECU, so to send a signal to obviously turn the fans on and off. So we have to differentiate now and find out which sensor is what. We know where one sensor is located, we've just got to find the other one, and we've got to find out if one of those sensors are faulty. Most likely obviously it is going to be a sensor issue which is causing the fans not to work. So I've just got to find the correct sensor which operates the ECU to control the fans rather than the one that controls the instrument cluster. Once I found this, then I can test that and then confirm if that's the fault. And then hopefully we're on the road to getting this fixed. This is where diagnosis become quite tricky because obviously we spend quite a bit of time already going through all these tests, but now we're getting to the point we need to pull parts off the car to find these sensors and remove these sensors, which is involved in, okay, we're going to lose coolant, so we're going to drain a bit of the coolant out and so forth. But yeah, so we'll see how we go with that. Okay, now after a bit of diagnosing, testing the coolant temp sensor that we could see just down here, all that seems okay. I've ran our Snap-on power probe thing over the circuit. We can confirm that all the relays are working. We've powered up from the relay, confirmed that the fan's operating. We did find something that was a little bit dicky at the start, and that was this plug going to the radiator fans, and when we moved this, all of a sudden it just started working completely all the time, and we couldn't get it to fault again. And what we found is these run a dual plug, so we've got the plug in and a plug out. So after a lot more diagnosis, we finally found this little thing, which is located just in the radiator fan shroud here. What this does is it picks up the temperature of the radiator and then sends a signal to the ECU to turn the fans on and off. Also controls the low and high speed. Now you can see all the corrosion on this coil here. All the insulation's broken off, all the wiring in there, so the actual copper or the that metal coil is all corroded. So I did a test on this and actually found the resistance was way too high. So new one, and you can see the difference here. So this one, all the insulation's intact, brand new. So we're just about to fit this one now. I'll quickly show you on this one. Don't know if you can see it, but I'll try and focus. So in there you see all that melted plastic around the terminal. That is a sign of high resistance, so it's been getting heat through the actual terminal and it's melted the plastic housing around it, so that's a telltale sign that we knew that was faulty as well. Okay, and that's a wrap. You can see the radiator fan is spinning. It's a little bit hard to see on video, but I assure you it is going, and this has been running for well over half an hour now. We're taking for a road test. And the temperature gauge is great. We've even got the AC working back again, which was another thing that failed at the same time. So that little temperature sender controls the fan for the ECU. So if that fan's not working, then we're also not cooling down the condenser for the AC to work. So now we've got the AC working, the car's not overheating, running like a dream.